Portland Homeless Family Solutions empowers homeless families with children to get back into housing and stay there. One of our programs is our Family Village Shelter, which is the first shelter of its kind in Oregon featuring trauma-informed design and architecture, which is a really innovative and creative model of providing shelter that has all of this evidence to show that families who live in these shelter environments, they have more success moving into housing and staying housed long term. So we operate the Family Village Shelter for 16 families at a time out in the Lentz neighborhood. And all of those families work with a housing specialist when they live in shelter on getting back into permanent housing. We also operate a mobile housing program, so we help many, many more families all around the community get back into housing as well. We follow the Housing First model, which prioritizes getting families back into housing as quickly as possible, and then we help them stay there long term with wraparound services. So every family looks different, and families tell us what they need. So that can look a number of ways. We help families with access to mental health care, domestic violence advocacy. We teach evidence-based classes like budgeting, communication. We teach a rent well tenant education class. We can help families access employment or better employment or job training programs. We also provide educational opportunities for kids, especially last year when all schooling was done from home. It's really hard to do school from home when you don't have a home. So our kids were working on school in shelter bedrooms and in shelter common areas. So we hired an education assistant to work with families to make sure that all kids were enrolled in schools, that they were connected to all of the educational resources that their schools provided. We did homework help, made sure they had Chromebooks and that the technology was working, everything they needed. Again, our education assistant worked with each family differently. Every family, every kid has a different set of needs, and so she tailored all of her work to the individual families. The way that we add capacity to our shelter is not in shelter beds. It's actually in adding capacity to our housing team. If we have a more robust housing team, we can move families out of shelter and into housing faster. And so we can help more families stabilize long-term rather than just increasing the number of shelter beds. Nobody wants to be in shelter, even though our shelter really is a wonderful and healing place. It's not where kids belong. Kids belong in their own beds. They belong in a home where they can brush their teeth at night, a table where they can do their homework. And so we want to help families get back into those homes as quickly as possible. And so we would hire an additional housing specialist to help families move faster into housing. And then of course we work with families for up to 2 years between budgeting and access to better paying jobs and just relationships. 90% of our families are successful long term.